Well, hello, how are you all today? I hope you're well, and welcome to American Reversion. If you're new to us, it's great to have you. I'm Steve Smith, and this is where we talk about trying to take this country back and getting this thing righted after the insanity of the morons who have taken this country off the track for so long, right? Okay, well, I've got some crazy stuff for you today. You're going to want to hear the last story. The last story you're not going to believe. I'll tell you that right now. And apparently, no, I can't tell you that yet. I can't tell you that yet. I'm sorry. I'll try to tell you tomorrow. Let's start off, shall we, with who's this? That's all right. Okay. With a quote from one of our founders, John Adams. If you're familiar with John Adams, he was a very bright guy, right? And one of the things that would do us well is to revisit many of the things that they said. They were thinkers. In some cases they were reactionaries. Some of the hotheads. Some were deep thinkers, and that's why we have had the success that we've had with our country for so long, because these guys had the ability to see far ahead, to see what the possible ramifications of, and they knew people. They understood people. They understood power. They understood what power does to people, and and so they gave us a great country with some warnings. And here is one. John Adams tells us, liberty cannot be preserved without a general knowledge among the people. Well, I think he just told us there where this country went astray, right there. What happened to the general knowledge? I've said before, when I was younger, in my youth, and even up through my probably late teens. I mean, we're talking about the 50s and the 60s here. Pretty much everybody felt the same way about things. It didn't matter race, religion, part of the country, whatever. It didn't matter. Most of the people felt the same way about the major things. There were differences, like I say, but about you couldn't find parents who would tell their kids it was okay to cheat in school, or to take money that they hadn't earned, things like that, right? But that's passed by the wayside, and a lot of it as a result of government programs, and you know that as well as I do. And that kind of brings us to our verse of the day. And this one, I had somebody tell me, they says, I really like that you started off your show with a scripture, and I'd really like it when you do that. So, you know what? I think we're going to do that from now on. It's going to be at the top. We'll probably have a quote from somebody, maybe one of the founders, maybe somebody else, and then we'll see what God wants us to know about this. And here is Isaiah 10:1. It says, "Woe to those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees." That would be a good one to memorize, wouldn't it? You can find it again, Isaiah 10:1. I'll say it one more time before we get started. Woe to those who make unjust laws. Do we know of any unjust laws? To those who issue oppressive decrees. Yes. Well, we ask that God look down on us and see what's happening, and help us to take this back to where it needs to be. Okay, the first one is Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG. You all know her, right? And some people like her and some people don't. But I tell you what, she goes out there and tells them where the rabbit sits. And she warns of the next war coming for America. I agree with her. I'll read the story. This is from Newsweek. I'll read part of the story. As always, I will post the entire story over on the Patreon channel for those of you who want to read everything. And the reason that I do that is so you can read the whole thing yourself, and then also have those things that you can, pass on to your friends, because that's where the real fight is. It's getting other people to understand the truth, to understand what's going on and see the truth of it. And by the way, I thank you all who have been joining over on the Patreon channel. It only costs you $1. I know there are some of you who are given more than that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It supports the channel. It helps us with what we do here. And believe it or not, there are costs involved with this. I've never said anything about that, but for those of you who want to support it, thank you. Okay, Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene issued a dire warning on the possibility of the next war in America after Donald Trump's win in the Iowa caucuses. War, it's their next move now that Trump won so decisively in Iowa and will continue to dominate, Greene wrote in a post on X. And I don't know how long they're going to continue to say, formerly Twitter, X, alluding to Democrats. Washington is on a desperate last-ditch effort to keep funding their losing war against Russia and have been turning their war machine to Iran. That's the truth. Excuse me while I take a sip out of my American Reversion mug. Hopefully you have one. Greene continued. To Washington, war is good business and feeds the defense industrial base. Isn't that exactly right? Isn't that what Eisenhower warned us against? The military industrial complex. And if you haven't read this book, this pamphlet, War is a Racket, by Smedley Butler. His middle name, I think, was Darlington. I don't know if it's on here. Yeah, but it was. Smedley D. Butler. Middle name was Darlington. That's interesting, isn't it? Read it. It'll take you half an hour, 45 minutes to read the whole thing. And you want this to not only know for yourself, but to spread it around. We're headed to another war. I'm going to be talking about that in another one. So yeah, to Washington, and that means the city, not George. War is good business and feeds the defense industrial base, which of course are their donors. The media loves it too. Yes, they do. It's great for ratings, and the media keeps viewers' screen locked and gripped in fear. And now that they have finally accepted Trump is going to win the historic numbers, they will use war as a campaign strategy. Yeah, they will. But the next war is going to suck everyone in on a level, and it's going to suck on a level none of us want, and in ways generations of us have never seen in our lifetime. You know, she's not the dummy many people make her out to be. Okay, so I will put that up over there for you all who want to read the entire thing. And like I say, share that. Share this if you would. I forgot to ask you about this. Would you give this video a thumbs up? Would you make sure that you're subscribed? Would you leave a comment? It helps the algorithm, so they tell me. And would you share this? Share this with your friends, anybody you think needs to hear it, and welcome them into the fold. You know, it's a way that you can help share information without sitting down and say, listen, I want to tell you something. You know, you can say, hey, listen to this guy on YouTube. See what he has to say. Okay, here we have a Breitbart story. The FBI arrests a radical transgender person suspect over threats to kill transphobes. There's a lot of moving parts in this one. A lot of interesting things, and I'm going to explain them to you. Let's begin. This is by Warner Todd Huston. The FBI has arrested a trans person for allegedly... They didn't just say they've arrested a person today. Okay. Well, it kind of goes in. The FBI has arrested a trans person for allegedly posting social media threats against transphobes and other people who oppose the transgender agenda. FBI agents arrested male-born transgender person Elizabeth Ballesteros West in Oregon last week after reports of online threats that included photos of guns. This is a very important part of the story. We'll get back to photos of guns, according to Newsweek. According to the Gazette, West's bio on social media read that he is a, quote, a Nazi dominatrix from hell who is tired of the blackening of America and Europe and ready to stand up to the black orcs and the Jewish wizard. Okay? Now, for the YouTube censors out there, I am simply read what Breitbart carried. Okay, this is journalism. This isn't hate speech. Some of the threats were posted to a Facebook group called the Trans Woman Support Group, one post of which featured an image of several guns and a complaint that West was being misgendered by transphobic detractors. Okay. The 56-year-old West, and there's a picture of her here, and she's very lovely, as you can imagine. The 56-year-old West, who reportedly has a history of bipolar disorder, allegedly admitted to being at the end of my rope and may be fired from his job. What a messy sentence that was. Due to, well, that's because they're not hiring the best. Due to his frustration over those who oppose the trans agenda, the Oregonian reported. And then we have a picture of the lovely, what is her name? His name? Whatever it is. What is it? Elizabeth. The lovely Elizabeth. There wearing her black dog collar and ring on the front. I suppose that's for her leash. I don't know. And then a picture of some guns. Okay. I'm too old to keep looking for jobs, and I've had it up to here being bullied by transphobic a-holes. I'm left with no alternative, she says. I don't know. Whoever she is. Elizabeth says. I'll probably have to go out in a blaze of glory. I've been preparing for this moment a long time. At least then I'll be remembered. I have no family, no friends. Well, I tell you what. The post highlighted by the federal documents seemed to show West railing about illegal aliens who are being afforded trans drug therapy. What? They are being given trans drug therapies and surgeries for free? I doubt that. Let's be honest with this. The stories do come out. What was it? A story came out the other day about illegals didn't have to, apply for a gun. They could carry guns without, and that's totally false. I mean, you have to be careful with this, folks. A lot of people make up things and they put it out there, and then people jump all over it without checking it, and it turns out not to be true. And then, if you're one of the ones or a group promoting it, it makes you, look silly, and that's part of the game. Anyway, she was upset that apparently she thought illegal aliens were being given trans drug therapies and surgeries for free, though she had to pay for hers. Okay, let me just say something about this. This is, first off, there's a deeper agenda here. First off, I want to say I feel very badly for this person. Okay, whether they think they're a he or a she or whatever, I feel terrible for her. This is a mental illness. She says that she's bipolar. She has no family or friends. It's I can imagine the loneliness. I can imagine the frustration. I can imagine. I've dealt with a lot of people, who had mental problems. And it's sad. It really is. For whatever reason, you can say, well, they were just, well, I'm not going to get into that. But I do feel sorry for people like this. I view them as victims. Not if they go shoot up a bunch of people, but I do see that I'll just say that, hey, I wouldn't want to be that, would you? Okay. But here's the point of this story. Is that now they have introduced something in to a story, and of course we've seen that some of the past shooters have been trans, right? Now they're introducing something into the story that is going to serve their purpose, and that is the guns. Okay, they're going to show that it is the guns that is the common theme. Guns are the common denominator, not the mental illness. Well, can be, or not the trans, whatever. But the guns, they're going to say, transcend all differences. And this is why they have to get the guns. This is why this story is out here. Don't doubt me on that, folks, as Rush used to say. Where's my Okay, that's too bad, but that's a nutty one. Bill Gates reveals a plan to change vaccines. Okay, you might wonder what? As did I. Billionaire Microsoft founder Bill Gates recently spoke. I wonder why they always introduce him like that. Billionaire Microsoft. Is anybody out there not who know who Bill Gates is? Recently spoke about new plans to change the way vaccines are administered, created, and distributed around the globe. Well, we needed that, didn't we? While appearing on CNBC TV 18 in India, do you ever notice how much they say overseas that they never say here? Gates was asked how he sees vaccine manufacturing around the globe. This is another Newsweek. Amid different tech and healthcare advancements. He says, we make sure for all these vaccines that there's enough capacity, that there's competition so the prices keep going down. And we will have new vaccines. We'll have a TB vaccine, a malaria vaccine, an HIV vaccine. Well, I can't imagine there's probably anything we won't have a vaccine for. Do you? As Gates continued, he spoke about the COVID-19 vaccine. That'll give me a banner. And explained ways it could change. We need to make them have longer duration, more coverage, he said. And we're going to change, instead of using a needle, to use a little patch. So notice how you said that. It's not just a patch, it's a little patch. Gates' comments came shortly after he spoke at the annual WEF forum in Davos and announced that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation plans to spend more than $8 billion to help develop new technology in healthcare, according to Bloomberg. In November, Reuters reported that Micron Biomedical, a pharmaceutical company based in the U.S., received a $23.6 million donation from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in an effort to develop vaccine patches instead of using a needle. Okay, well, you all, what was that called? What was that called? Some kind of, and it was just little patches, got little vampire stickies on it, Something about gel. Some of you will remember it. This is the next thing that's coming down the road. Do I have time? Oh, yeah, I'm going to have time to talk about this next one. Let me just insert here that these are the things we can talk about to influence those undecided in the middle, right? Every time you heard me say something and said, what? Or, yep, that's right, or crying out loud, or when I, you see, that's what the people will say, or should say, when you just, mention this in conversation. It's the bait. You toss it in there, it's the bait until the fish sees that and they takes a bite and they say, what? Yeah, well, and then you go on, to explain a few things. This is what we're concerned about. Remember, you get more flies with sugar, or with honey than you do with the vinegar, right? So when we talk about these things, we have to make sure that we're speaking reasonably. The reasonable voice is the one that appeals to people, not the angry voice, right? Okay, that's why we want to come at these. Now, if you thought that those previous ones were head shakers, you're not gonna. This is. I tell you what. This comes, and I'm gonna play this. This comes from Sean Baker. Do you all watch Sean Baker? Do you follow him? He was like the godfather of the carnivore movement. And I am a big proponent. I forget if I've said it on this channel or not. I'm a big proponent of carnivore. When I started, Kelly tried to get me on this for a long time, and I poo-pooed it. I thought I knew all about nutrition because I'd been a big exercise guy and owned a gym, and I knew all about it, right? Well, no, I knew what I had studied and learned from liars. Well, Sean Baker, I interrupted myself. I finally broke down. I went on it. I felt like a new person, a new man. If you haven't checked into the carnivore diet, you should. And it's mainly all meat. Meat, some say beef, bacon, butter, and what else do they say? And eggs. Okay? But most of the real carnivores just say meat. And I'll tell you, you go on it, you're going to see most of your, well, I shouldn't say that, right? Because I'm not supposed to be giving medical advice. No, the guys who are into the movement, they can because they're doctors. Sean Baker, he's an MD. I think he was an orthopedic surgeon. Ken Berry, and check these guys out on YouTube. Check out their channels and learn about it. You'll be glad you did. Ken Berry, who's a physician down in Tennessee, and Anthony Chafee, who's a neurosurgeon, I believe. He's now in Australia. These guys are the triumvirate of the carnivore diet. And I tell you, every one of them looks great, and they'll explain the science to you. I can't explain the science. I'll just tell you it makes me feel great. Okay, I'm going to play something from his video today. Okay, and now just listen to it, and then I'll say something about it.
Made meat from your number 2. Japanese scientists have developed a method to create edible steaks from human feces. Unbelievable? Well, it's happening. Mitsuyuki Aikida, a researcher at the Okayama laboratory, collaborated with Tokyo Sewage to address sewage mud excess. They discovered the content in the mud contains high protein due to bacteria, so the team isolated and combined these proteins with a reaction enhancer. Result? Synthetic steak. The meat comprises of 63% protein, 25% carbs, 3% lipids, and 9% minerals. And it's visually enhanced with food coloring for a red hue and improved flavor using soy protein. Made meat.
What did they call it? Sewage mud? I tell you what, I saw the picture of it. I'll put the link to this on the Patreon page. They say they enhanced it with coloring. They didn't enhance it much. So that's what's in store for you. You thought that crickets was bad? No. You thought that Soylent Green was bad? You know, ask yourself, who came up with this idea? Let's see if we can't make steak out of poop, right? Let's go down in the sewers and let's scrape up some of that sewage mud. See if we can't. Who would say, I bet there's some protein in there that we could do something with? We can feed it to the morons, okay? This brings to mind all sorts of jokes and all sorts of sayings. You know, don't feed me up and tell me it's something else, right? Okay, I think that's enough for today. Chew on that for a while, but not on that last thing. I wouldn't chew on that last thing for much. But get out there and do something today, okay? We're in the fight. We have the New Hampshire primaries coming up pretty soon. It'll be interesting to see what happens as a result of that. They're still making noises that they're wanting Nikki Haley to be the VP under Trump. That's a non-starter. If he does that, I will say this, and I probably should have started with this. There was a news item that say if he does that, there are a lot of people who won't support him. I tell you, that's a tough one. It is a tough one. As much as I think he is the best answer we have now. Okay. What would I do if he picks Nikki Haley? I'm not sure I can answer that right now. But I'll be interested to hear your answers. All right, guys. Well, a lot to chew on there. And I know you're going to want to share that last story with all of your friends. Like I said, I'll put the link over on the Patreon page. You all have a good day. Remember that America needs a reversion. It needs you to be a part of it. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.